And there's that. Probably still in frame.
Likely is not. Probably more likely than not.
Well, it's fine. We haven't had a major mistake in a while, so that they know of.
Ah, very nice. Oh.
So it's been a while.
Has been a while.
Somebody's not taking their real job very seriously.
And no kidding.
It's not me. I'm always available.
Seems like I've been wrapped tight lately. Need more time like this. It's been like 4 weeks, I think.
I think we filmed right before my family reunion. So it's been like at least 3, if not 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Slacker.
Been a while. Yeah, I'll accept that. Need to slack on other things and make this priority.
We got a little briny gold shipwreck spiced rum.
Mm-hmm.
He thinks he's funny, guys.
Thought that appropriate today, talking about the rest of the storm story.
Mm-hmm.
So have a little bit of that, but we're shooting early too, so we're a little rum and coffee and things and stuff.
It's 5 o'clock somewhere.
That is a true statement, for sure.
It's actually 5 o'clock in a lot of somewheres.
In a lot of somewheres. And it's whatever, 10:30 here.
Mm-hmm. You know what I always found weird?
Mm-hmm.
When I was in Afghanistan, it was 12 and a half hours difference.
Yeah.
Where does the half hour come?
12 and a half.
Because you would think then that somewhere in the United States there would be a half hour difference since there's 1, 2, and 3 hour differences.
Yeah.
But there's not. It just goes to show you time is BS.
Yeah. It's not just relative, it is BS.
It doesn't exist.
Mm-hmm.
That's not true, it does. But I found that really weird.
Yeah.
I'm like, 12 and a half? What makes the half? Is it the country that divides the time? You know what I mean? Like, how does that work?
Yeah.
Anyways, we were talking about time. I mean,
Yeah. Time is a weird thing.
mm-hmm.
Staying on it for a minute, I was listening to something just a couple hours ago. I believe Eckhart Tolle saying, how did he put it? The eternal present moment. Think about that. That's pretty true. This is where eternity is.
Yeah.
We think about it out in the future, but the future is not. That's our concept of time. The past is our concept of time. Right now, though, the present moment has no time. The present moment is what it's eternal.
Mm-hmm. It was interesting. I was listening to...
I think I just propped a brain cell.
I forget which one of his books, but from J. Warner Wallace, and one of his, I guess, rebuttals to the argument of, if God's so good, then why does a bunch of evil happen?
Mm-hmm.
And there's a whole array of reasoning you could put behind it, but I found it interesting in one of his examples or thoughts is, like when he was an infant and he got shots, in that moment, it was terrible. You cried and you remember it for a few years. But now looking back, being in his 30s or 40s or whatever, that moment that was so terrible in his infancy didn't really matter to him anymore.
Right. Yeah.
And he's like, in the grand scheme of eternity, foreverness, the finite moments and experiences that we have here that might be bad won't even be comparable, and so much time, because it's outside of time, will elapse in eternity. It won't even matter.
Right.
So it's like, and then he also kind of brings in the argument of, God allowing us free will so that we can make mistakes, because you learn from mistakes and you grow, and he has this creation that he loves so greatly. They're going to need to build some character before they enter into eternity, which I don't agree with, really, because if once you get your full spiritual knowledge, then you'll have perfect character,
Right.
depending on whatever that.
Does eternity require I have perfect character?
Well, if you return to the Father and you've been made perfect and you are now perfect and you're operating in that, then it's more. I think
I'm perfect now.
Yeah, I think it's more of the once you actually understand everything, which we can't currently, then I just think most things won't matter.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, like, truly.
Yeah. It doesn't. The stuff that we encounter, if we can keep that mindset when we face any challenge,
Yeah.
keep an eternal mindset instead of getting so short-sighted, myopic, whatever, of just all I can see is this, what's happening right here. And there's some things like sickness and pain and loss and things that are just so intense that or the storm, that you are so in the moment and so feeling it, it's hard to have that eternal perspective.
And it's funny you went there, because that's where I was getting back to. The actual subject of this part 2, the storm interview.
Yeah.
But you had a good eternal mindset in the aspect of you didn't get caught up in, you saw everything that was happening because you had to then make decisions so that you could get to where you were going.
Right.
That eternal mindset was, I'm getting this ship into port.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was your, in that moment, eternal mindset of, we're getting through this.
Right. Yeah. We're going to get through this.
But if you would have gotten sucked into, that's a really big wave, we're all going to die, you would have. Just like that. They would have,
Right.
Or if after 36 hours, you're just like, nope, can't do it. I just can't do it.
Done. We're done.
Yep. Sorry, babe. I love you. Love you, girls. Go down, kiss everybody, and capsize and die.
Yeah. It's like, I can't physically see the way out. So, we're done. And kind of like we ended last time with it getting, going through that whatever day it was, and then it's about to become dark again, and not knowing what to do because I have to see the waves. And then God speaking to me the very first time I hear him, and him giving me a heading, a compass heading, that, expecting that supernatural. And it's like, okay, I've reached my limit. I don't know what to do anymore physically, but not doing like what you said, and just, well, okay, we're done then, because I can't figure it out.
Yep.
That's when we really have to put it out there and say, all right, Father, however much I've relied on you or not relied on you through this whole storm, and I hope everybody's taking this for how we mean it. It's not just a interesting story. We're facing challenges of different caliber all the time, and through life. So, I'm hoping people take this and can apply some of these things. But when you reach your end of understanding, realize there's more. Expect the supernatural. Expect for you to raise your hand and the waves cease, that the storm ceases, that the cancer goes away, that the marriage is fixed, that a relationship is repaired. Expect those things. Sometimes they don't happen.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that you can't put a blanket on or a checklist or a 3 points or anything else, because it's so personal and it's so individual. And you've got multiple people involved in a lot of these.
And that's the big thing, is the multiple people.
Yeah.
You can only do you.
Mm-hmm.
And then everything after that, you just kind of got to let it go.
Exactly.
Which is difficult.
Yeah. As you well know.
Yes.
And we, just from the last time we filmed, y'all have gone through some stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Painful stuff. And it's, a lot of our pain. This thing with the storm story was natural. Supernatural. But it didn't involve other people.
Yeah, the storm itself was natural.
Yeah.
And then what you experienced going through it, being sensitive and hearing, was supernatural.
Mm-hmm.
But like you said, there was no one else involved. It was,
Yeah.
You weren't having to deal with another person. You were having to deal with, Mother Nature.
Right. Which, is she a person? I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, maybe.
For another day.
Genesis talks about that the earth cursed Cain for killing Abel.
Right.
So.
Kind of has a personality.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
So, you see lights.
Yes.
You're
Yes. This is going to be the Hope episode.
Yeah.
And cool, because the name of our boat was Hope. Yeah.
See the lights. You get that, not just glimmer, but I think in the last episode, your hope tank gets filled, because now there's tangible relief ahead of you.
Right.
And the fog rolls in.
Yeah, and I don't get meteorology, especially oceanography, oceanology,
stuff and thing.
Weather on the ocean. It's an odd thing to me. I'm sure somebody out there understands it, but I don't. And again, we didn't go out blind. We were talking to the experts in the field.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's
who
the
were
only
wrong.
Who were wrong, because it's their best guess too. And but yeah, even talking to them, it's stuff happens. But yeah, we see lights. We're just a few miles out, and like I said, engine was at 100% still, and this is 73 hours, 72 in, so it had been running full blast for 3 days solid. That's a good little diesel. But yeah, we're coming in now. The fog rolls in. We're just like, holy hell, when's this stuff going to stop? We just there's no break to it. There was never a break. Like, we got our break. The weather passed. The sun came up.
You still have the weather, and now there's fog.
Yeah. And it's pitch black. It's like, why couldn't we come into an unknown port, unknown to us? Why could we not come into an unknown port during daylight?
Yeah.
And generally, we would just stay at sea. It's an unknown port. I'm not going to hit it at night.
Yeah.
I'm going to stay at sea. But the sea was so dangerous, and we were exhausted.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm going to make a mistake somewhere along the line. I just need to get in.
Yeah.
Decision-making skills may have been a little impaired. I don't know. But I hadn't even sat down for 70-something hours.
Yeah.
So I knew it was coming, even though I wasn't thinking about it a whole lot. I knew we had a limited amount of time we needed to get in.
Yeah.
And plus, it was like, at that point, coming on the jetties, it was like 2 a.m. So it wasn't like sunrise was in an hour.
Yeah.
Where I could just slow the engine down and maintain. It was like, no, I'm going to be out here for, and this is beginning of March. So it's not like we have super long days. Our days are still very short.
Yeah.
Because we left 28th of February on my daughter's birthday. Happy birthday. Let's go find a storm at sea. She'll never forget that one.
Yeah.
Of course, she was only 4, but So yeah, we're coming in. The fog has rolled in. We're getting closer, and ports will generally, you've got red and green lights coming into any jetties or port anywhere. So you line up the red on the right, returning, is the general sailor saying. With this one, it was such a small port, we only had one red light, one green light, and we had a white light on shore that was kind of a lineup just to get things, a target. But the perspective was so weird. For one, it's even on a clear night, not in seas, because, remember we're going
you see it
up and down.
You see it and then you don't.
So it's like, oh, there it is, okay, and I didn't see the green one though. Oh, there's the green. And so it may be like this, red and green, or it may be like this, red and green, where the channel's going this way. It's just you don't have any perspective at sea, at night. And, so the white light helps you get kind of lined up. But anyway, it's not easy like 4 reds, 4 greens. Okay, I can see the road.
Yeah. It's not a runway or a road, something that's easily grasped.
Exactly. And it's not like driving a car. It's like, oh, I ran off into the ditch. This is like, oh no, I hit the jetties. Now I'm sunk my boat and killed my family. This is
escalated quickly.
Yeah, because it was recalculating quickly. Yeah, and these granite blocks. If people haven't seen jetties, you got these massive rocks on both sides marking the channel, and there's some of them are big as this platform that we're on, this treehouse. And they're rock, granite or whatever, but whatever kind of rock, it doesn't fight well with fiberglass sailboats, especially when the sailboat's doing this and it's 1 or 2 hits and you're sunk, and then there's cracks between where they lay all these rocks, so it's just not good on human flesh. Our flesh wouldn't hold up too good on that stuff. Anyway, this is all going through my mind. We're coming up on it. I tell Gina, I think I've got it lined up. But with that fog, and it's still dark, 2 or 3 in the morning, I had brought a little first-gen night vision scope. I brought that up, but there was enough light on shore getting through the fog to where it just blanked that out where I couldn't see anything. We got a big ship spotlight, brought that up there, plugged it in. It's like the fog's just reflecting that light. So it's like nothing's helping to see through fog. So I told you, we'll just try to do this. And then right before I feel like we're kind of getting close. Waves have come down a little bit because we're closer to shore. But they're still, giving us a challenge. Engine's still 100%. Gina had said that, on the chart, there looks like there's a Coast Guard station inside the jetties. So I said, well, there's an idea. Maybe they can send a boat out, with a spotlight or something, and we can follow them in just so we can be sure and hit the jetties. So I hailed them on the radio, or Gina does, I don't remember. I think I did, because I had a handheld at the helm. So I'm steering with one hand and calling them and telling, hey, this is the situation. We've been in this storm. They obviously know it because they're there. But I said, we've come in from 350 miles out. We've been battling this for 3 days, and we're exhausted. We got 4 souls on board, with a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old, and we've never been in this jetty. Can you help us out? And I don't know, either I wasn't explaining it right, or they weren't hearing it right, or whatever. They were saying, just line it up, you'll be good. And I'm like, God.
I haven't slept in 70-something out. I haven't slept in days, and I can't do math.
Yeah, that's right. Don't expect me to do math right now.
Oh, glory.
So I told Gina after 2 or 3 short
Attempts.
conversations, I was like, they're not getting it. I'm not explaining it. I don't know, but I can't sit here on the radio because we're getting closer. So I just can't see anything. You know, occasionally a red light, a green light, a white light, and I'm just kind of doing the best I can. And I'm just straining my eyes, trying to see something. And then it's like, boom, there's the North Jetty, the one that's on our starboard side. And it's just 6 feet away. I'm like, yeah, and we're still doing this. I'm like, Jetty, you know, I checked the throttle. It's still 100%. I steer away from it. And because the wind was coming across the jetties, we're just right into the waves now, and they're just right there.
Yeah.
And I can see them because our helm is at the stern of the boat, and so I can see the jetties. I'm looking at those. I'm going up waves. I'm like, we're not moving. We're just staying right here, just trying to keep us off of them.
Yeah.
And so I don't know how. Seemed like half an hour, but I'm sure it was just a few minutes. But we finally started to inch away from them, get that little lull in some of the waves, because it was kind of coming crossways a little bit into the jetties where the other jetty wasn't breaking it.
Yeah.
And the little engine wouldn't match against the wind and all that right there. But we finally inched away. I went back out to sea because I couldn't. At that point, I didn't know if we were south of the South Jetty because I couldn't see the other jetty.
Yeah.
Or if we were, you know, I knew this one was behind us, but I didn't know what jetty that was.
Yeah.
So were we in the channel or were we outside the channel?
Yeah.
I couldn't tell. So we went back out. I told Gina I'm going to go back out and, you know, just like a mile, spin around, try to reposition, line up on it, and give it one more shot.
Yeah.
And then I told her I'm going to give it one more shot. Since I've been there, as long as I can get far enough out where I can see the green light, because I couldn't see it at that point, then I feel like I can shoot it again. But then I told her, if I can't, I don't have it in me to do it again. I said, we'll give it one more shot. If we don't make that, I'm going to turn around. I can see the lights of the hotels. I know they're all on the beach. And I'll just go that direction, and we'll
Put it up on the beach and
put
we'll
it
be
up on
fine.
the beach and try to get to shore. You know, and it's going to be heavy waves for a little while, but, you know, because the boat's, you know, almost 6 foot draft, 5.5 or so. So even the thought of that, I was like, you know, we may hit a sandbar before the beach.
Yeah.
And get stuck there, and then we'll just try to get everybody off the boat. But as most sailors know too, especially once you've gone through something, I mean, we had lived on the boat for a few years. It was home, and this was our, you know, we'd been through this storm in it. So it represented a lifetime of dreams.
Yeah.
This is our dream to do this. And just the thought of throwing it up on a beach somewhere.
Yeah.
And then hopefully getting everybody to shore. It's like, I just don't want to do that.
Yeah, less than best circumstances.
Absolutely. Yeah. Go for a relight.
I'm going to take a quick little break. Reset.
Reset, refill, relight.
Yes, sir. All right. Oh, why, thank you.
Absolutely.
You're too kind.
My pleasure, sir. Yep. Oh, so we go back out to sea and flip it around, line it up. Now I kind of have a little bit better perspective with a couple other lights on shore.
Mm-hmm.
I see the green light and realize, okay, we were in the channel. We were just, I couldn't get away from the jetty and kind of remain in there.
So is that disheartening? Like, I was there.
Yeah, yeah. It's like I was a little bit more and we could have done it.
Yeah.
But at the time I was like, it's not worth the risk because it may not be. So we go back out, turn around, shoot it again. We end up hitting it almost just dead center once I can see them.
Yeah.
I see that north one again, but we're far enough away where I don't need to panic.
Yeah.
And at that point, I was far enough in where I could see the other one. It's like, okay, and now I got my lineup light, and it's like, we're there. And then it just, boom. The wind was still blowing, but it's like, we're not moving.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're moving.
Yeah, but you're not.
We're not
Yeah.
vertically moving, but we're horizontally moving.
Yeah.
It's like, it's like, wow, we are going to live. This is we're going to make this. So I'm sitting there thinking, wow, okay, it's done. So I'm just kind of processing all of this. And I think Gina had come up because she felt everything stop,
Calm.
obviously.
Yeah.
And so she's up, in the hatch just looking, and, fog is still there. It's still pitch black, but we can kind of see, and I look over, get a little close to the jetty, so I'm steering away from it. Like, man, these jetties are moving.
Yeah.
We are cranking. It's like, oh, shoot. Engine's still at 100%.
Yeah.
And the tide was coming in. So we're going with the tide 100%, so we're smoking through there.
What's funny is it's nothing what you've been doing, but it's like, oh, dang. Gotta readjust.
Yeah. It's like, okay, kind of snap out of my euphoria of being able to live another day.
Yeah.
And so I no sooner reach down, pull the throttle back, to about halfway, let the engine relax a little. And as soon as I pull the throttle back, the boat just, like, we slammed on the brakes.
Oh, wow.
Sandbar. And when we hit it, we were with the tide, 100% throttle, going. I just pulled it back, and so we just, and it was right at it. We were trying to make a turn. The Coast Guard had told us where a little marina was inside the jetty, so we were trying to get there, and we just bow dipping, hit that thing hard. And so I tried everything I knew to get off the sandbar, and it just wasn't having it.
Yeah.
So we were stopped. I could really care less at this point.
Yeah.
Couldn't care less. So I got our stern anchor, threw that out for when the tide finished coming in. I figured it would pull us off the sandbar.
Yeah.
And just in case. At this point, it's 5 a.m. So I figure, sun's going to be up within an hour or two.
Yeah.
And then the tide will be in. I'll pull the anchor in and we'll leave. But threw the anchor out, shut the engine off, let go of the wheel, holding that thing for 75 hours at that point. It's like just peel the fingers off and
left some skin behind.
Left some skin, yep. And so all that, and then it's quiet, and able to go down below, lay down on a settee, on one of what we call a settee, is one of the couches.
Yeah. Crash
out for a couple hours, and it's like, wow, we did this.
We're not dead.
Yeah, just the concept of not being dead was pretty novel.
It's amazing how things put life into perspective.
Yeah. Yeah. It was funny that, so sun comes up. Yeah, I would have thought I would sleep for 12 hours.
Yeah.
But a couple hours, I was like, okay, I need to deal with stuff.
Yeah.
So as soon as the sun came up, I was awake, and because my body, my spirit, my mind knew that, okay, we're not done yet.
Yeah.
Although
we're not dead, but we're not done.
Yeah, exactly. And so get up and pull the anchor in. Or no, I left it out, got the dinghy out. Figured at some point we're going to need that. So got the dinghy off the deck, mounted the motor, kind of getting all that set up.
Yeah.
And told Gina, okay, let's, because sometimes you can use your dinghy to pull a line from the top of the mast and get the boat leaning enough to where you can get it off the sandbar or whatever.
Gotcha.
And so the anchor was still out, it was set, cranked it with a winch, trying to crank us off. Wouldn't crank off. Tried with the dinghy, couldn't get anything going. Twisting the boat around with the engine at full blast, just nothing.
You're
it
just
was
buried.
Stuck. So took the dinghy, found the marina, and called a tow guy, and had him come out. One of those tow boats. He's got 2 or 3 massive engines on the back of that, and he hooks up. And it's like, all right, go. I got my motor full blast. He's like, oh. It's like, dang, we're stuck. But he pulls us off after a little bit, but there wasn't anything our 11-horse diesel was going to do.
Yeah.
All that was for naught, just burning diesel. But got off the sandbar, paid him, went over to the marina and docked, and then that's when we felt, okay, now we're settled. Get the girls off the boat, everybody off. We needed showers, something fierce. And so we just had the 2 girls at that time, so Gina takes them to, we got the marina bathhouse or whatever, she takes them in. So it's taken them a lot longer than me. Mm-hmm. I'm in the shower there, and sea legs like a big dog. Mm-hmm. Land felt like it was moving like crazy. It's like just getting to the bathhouse was like step by step.
Yeah.
We were all like holding each other.
Everybody's looking, you're like, what's wrong with those weirdos?
Can't even walk straight. Freaking drunk. It's 8 a.m. Yeah, we get over there, and I remember being in the shower and just letting all that run off.
Yeah.
All that crusted on salt and everything, these clothes, everything was just crazy. Mm-hmm. So getting that done, just standing there for a second, closing my eyes and then feeling a hard hit on my head from where, whap! It's like, okay, don't close eyes while you have sea legs. Hard shower. So I finished waiting on the girls, went out, sat on a curb, and then just bawled until they got out, until I heard them coming out, and then I kind of cleaned myself up. But just the adrenaline dump, mm-hmm. the emotional dump, and you know that from other adrenaline things. You're shaking.
Yeah.
And keeping it up so high, so long. It's just I'm shaking, I'm crying, and I got sea legs, I can't walk. I'm sure I look like an absolute mess.
Nobody came over and like tossed you a 5 and like, hey, go get yourself some breakfast,
Right.
you sad sack.
Yep. Yeah, exactly.
Well, I mean, I couldn't imagine that many hours straight, even if it was something fun, something you were trying to do. Mm-hmm. The adrenaline dump alone would be just massive and kind of ridiculous to handle. But then,
right,
like you're saying, that emotional component of I'm not dying today.
Right.
And then the next day, I'm not dying today either. And then the next day, you know, that's a long time to have, because most people don't know how to process and deal with their emotions on a normal day-to-day basis.
Right.
But you didn't have time to process or deal with any of your emotions for that entire incident.
Just putting them on the shelf.
Yeah. And then to finally be where you're actually needed to be, safe, everybody's fine.
Yeah.
No big deal. Mm-hmm. And then, like you said, okay, girls aren't around, and let's just get rid of this.
Yep.
And it's not. I doubt it was a conscious decision in the moment.
Right.
You're just sitting there, and then it's like,
yeah. Just, 23 years, and I'm fighting it back now. Mm-hmm. It's crazy because there's still an emotional response to it.
Yeah.
It's odd. It surprises me every time I talk about it.
How much it still gets you?
Yeah. After that, we kind of gained ourselves. We went from the showers. I'm sure the Coast Guard appreciated it. We went straight to the Coast Guard station after that because we still didn't know anything about our friends that were on their boat.
Yeah.
Because the last thing we heard, again on the radio was, hey, we broke another stay. And then it was dead.
And that was like, what, a day or two prior to you actually getting back?
Yeah. Yeah, that was within the first 24, 36 hours. I don't remember.
Yeah.
So we went to the Coast Guard station, took our chart over there, laid it out with them and said, hey, this is what was going on. This was our wind direction heading. This is our last location. Gina had plotted their location, the last one that we had, currents, all that kind of stuff, so they could do their math.
Yeah.
I was still not in a place to do math. Told them where we were headed, all that kind of stuff, that, maybe if the storm blew out, they would still try to head there. They sent out planes, ships, everything, and couldn't find them. Well, just to wrap that up, the Coast Guard searched for them. We checked on them, checked in with them a couple times a day. And like I said, nothing came of it. And then, was it like 5, 6 days later, we get a message. I don't remember how it came through, but we got a message that they had sent out an SOS. They were both hallucinating. Steve had passed out multiple times just from exhaustion. They were in it longer than we were. And they ended up sending out an SOS. And a Russian tanker going from Veracruz, Mexico to the UK picked up their SOS as they were coming through and picked it up, found them, circled, and they were in a super tanker.
Yeah.
So the top of Steve Michael's mast was about deck level of the boat.
Jeez.
So massive difference. But the super tanker, so they circled them like 3 or 4 times, just trying to get a somewhat calm area. Came up next to them, tossed him a line off the super.
Yeah.
It was, I don't know how big it was.
8-inch
it was
rope.
big. Yeah. Talking to Steve later, he's like, I get this line on my, the bow of my boat, and I'm like, I don't have a cleat or anything to tie this off to.
You guys got anything normal sized?
So they get it tied off somehow, get a rope ladder down, and 2 of the Russians on board had new video cameras, so they filmed it from 2 angles. And the super tanker and their sailboat, they're just doing this and going through the waves, and all they can take is their passports and whatever. And the both of them make it up the rope ladder, and onto the ship, but then the ship can't tow their boat. It just doesn't work with their wake and stuff. They would have just it would have been gone anyway. So they had to cut it away, and that was their retirement. That was their dream. Everything was into that boat. They'd spent a couple years outfitting it, again at our marina. It was just a huge loss.
Yeah.
And to see that in their face on video when they had to cut it away, that's just when somebody loses their dream. That's just, you kind of become empty.
Yeah.
Until you get a new one.
Yeah.
Or continue it somehow. But when everything is in, there's your dream in a physical object, and that's the representation of your dream. To see that die is a hard thing.
Especially when you just started to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, they'd lived on a couple years, but that wasn't the dream, to live in a marina in Texas. It was to be in the Caribbean, to be in the Bahamas, to be ministering to people. And
it's like getting a brand new car and it getting wrecked on the first time you step into it and you sit into it to drive.
Right.
But so much more.
Right.
You said, it's like you poured your entire life into this thing.
Yeah.
It's everything you've ever wanted. You're finally doing it.
Yeah, because it represents a lot more than just the object, of course.
Yeah, it's not the boat itself.
Right.
The ship itself. It's everything that was going with it.
Yeah, exactly.
And again, not just what's packed in it, but just everything you've poured into that.
Yeah. So it's, they ended up coming back. Weird thing, like a month later, their boat makes it to almost where we left from.
Wow.
Just drifts up. There wasn't really anything left. The mast was wrapped around and under the boat. There was nothing on deck. You've got stanchions around the deck of a sailboat that carried 2 or 3 lifelines. Mm-hmm. There wasn't one stanchion left. Winches were knocked off. Big Danforth anchor on the front was bent sideways. So I don't know. It just got
mangled.
It got tore up. The bulkheads inside, you have the hull of the boat, and then the bulkheads go perpendicular to the hull. Mm-hmm. The bulkheads are attached to the hull.
Yeah.
That's what stiffens the boat. They were separated from the hull so much I could stick my head through them.
Wow.
I mean, it was like separation, not like, oh yeah, I see a little light.
Yeah.
No, I can dang near crawl through that separation. The boat was tore up.
Yeah.
But it was floating, and it floated right back up. And we took them down, a couple months after the storm, 6 weeks, whatever it was. We drove them down there and helped them get, because the law of the sea, somebody had saw it when it was getting close, went out to it, hooked it up, realized there was nobody on board, hooked it up and towed it in.
Yeah.
Now that's their boat. But they were kind enough to get the registration numbers off of it and call Steve and say, hey, if here's what happened.
Yeah.
But if y'all want to come get your stuff off of it, honestly, it wasn't worth salvaging. But they were able to go and kind of get some things off and say their goodbyes to it. That was hard trip. So we get our showers, walking around like a drunk family. Mm-hmm. Go to the Coast Guard, doing all that, and then we go to the marina. Our boat's taking a lot of damage, so I'm working with our insurance company and boat yard across the bay and just trying to take care of these things. We're calling our parents saying, hey, I know you were expecting a call right about now from Mexico. we're close to Mexico, but
Yeah.
not the area that we were going.
Yeah.
So we're letting everybody know. The news sources get a hold of it. So I did a couple radio interviews with news people that were calling in. And again, this was all before Steve and Michael were even found.
Yeah.
So just kind of going through, this is still that day.
Yeah.
So we've had 2 hours of sleep, and now we're doing all these things, which every one of these phone calls, I'm just bawling through every one of these. So it's just a crazy emotional day.
Yeah.
And we end up, I forget how, somehow the marina hooked us up with a hotel at the other end of the island. Gave us a deal, whatever, so we could.
A survivor's deal.
Yeah, because the boat was about the floor of Hope was probably 18 inches of clothes, fruit, stuff,
Everything that flew off everywhere.
Yes. Thankfully not vomit because of Dramamine. Shout out to Dramamine. You guys are awesome. So there's a trolley that goes up and down the island. So, and then it's free. So, which is all we could afford back then. So we kind of get through with this day. We've, all this. We get on the trolley. It's, I forget now, 4 miles or something to the other end, Bahia Mar. We get in this hotel room. We're sleeping through the night, about falling off the beds. Anytime you move, it's like everything's swimming. And then you wake up a lot of times and you think you're still in the storm and you're not. And you're, where am I? Okay, my family's here. I haven't been abducted. It's, you're just trying to put all this together. It's such an odd thing. So it's just kind of a struggle. But before we sleep, we get to the hotel, check in. They're like, okay, now we're finally kind of hungry.
Yeah.
Because stomach's all kind of jacked and everything. And this constant dizzy sea leg thing. So we're finally kind of hungry. So we get on the trolley. The guy, we're talking to him. He's like, yeah, there's a subway down here. And the girls are like, yeah, that sounds good. Yeah. So we go down, and there's 2 roads on this island. One goes, and they're both two-way, but he's like, I go down this road, and then I'll turn around, I come back this road, it's 30 minutes or an hour later, I'll be over here. And he just does this loop all day. Mm-hmm. He's like, I don't get off for another couple hours, whatever. So he tells us where he'll be. So we go a couple miles with him, get off, eat Subway, doesn't take 20, 30 minutes. And we're like, okay, let's walk across, 2 or 3 blocks to this other road. We walk over there, we're waiting on him. It's like, okay, been an hour. Not here, wait another half hour, it's not here. It's like, well, now it's getting dark. It's like, daggum, can I get a break? At this point, of course, this is still that same day that we've arrived. So we're going on like 2 hours of sleep in the last at that point, 84 hours or whatever. Of course, we're out of the storm, but it's like, I'm still just wiped.
Yeah.
So we get over there. It's like the trolley guy never shows up. And, I don't know what happened, but we're like, okay, let's walk back to the hotel. And it's like 2 or 3 miles. We're just like,
which any normal day wouldn't have been a big deal.
Yeah, no big deal at all.
It's like, I can barely walk.
Yep.
I'm exhausted.
Yeah, every step is kind of an achievement.
Yeah.
The girls, of course, they're exhausted too. So Gina's carrying one, I'm carrying the other. And we're just like, shoulders here. Hey, let's trade them. Maybe the other kid's lighter. It's just like, no. So, okay, girls, you got to walk for a little while. And so we're just kind of, the 4 of us making our way. It's a pretty tall hotel, so we get to where, oh, there it is. You know, it's still whatever, half a mile away, but it's like, all right, we're getting there. And at this point, sun's going down, and we were just kind of trudging through, and the whole thing's kind of getting funny.
Yeah.
And then we hear we pass this alleyway, and there's a freaking pack of dogs.
Oh my God.
And there's all of them. It sounded, who knows now, 23 years later, but it sounded like at least a dozen of them.
Yeah.
And it just, the barks were not like, hey, people, let's go get pet.
Yeah.
It was like,
hey, dinner.
Exactly. Yeah. So and they start doing their thing and running toward us. And we're like, holy hell, what?
Yeah.
Now we make it through the storm and we get killed by a pack of dogs.
Get eaten by a pack of dogs. Oh, fun. All right, pack of dogs.
Pack of dogs. Where we leave off, pack of dogs.
They're about to get their Subway dinner from you.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Oh. So, funny reaction, total and natural. I wasn't trying to do anything spiritual or, psychological to get in the minds of these dogs.
Yeah.
So they start running after us. It's dark, it's on the island. We're a half mile from, some place where we can seek shelter. So we pick up the girls and we start trotting off kind of quick. And then we both just start cracking up. It's like, oh, it just turned funny.
Yeah.
There was a moment of fear, and then it was just hilarious. And we started cracking up, and when we ended cracking up, there's no dogs.
Mm-hmm.
And
they're like, what is wrong with these crazy people?
It's like,
they're poison.
Yeah. Somebody told me just recently, I don't know, was it you?
Maybe.
Maybe. But it's talking about this part of it, and they're like, probably because they sense fear. All animals will sense fear. They'll sense weakness. Mm-hmm. And there was absolutely no fear or weakness in it. I mean, we were tired,
yeah.
But it's like, it was a down deep spiritual level laughter.
Yeah.
That, by the time we got through, they were gone. Mm-hmm. And it's like, well, they must have just turned around or something.
Yeah.
I know all of us didn't at the same time imagine it, but it was just a funny thought, a funny way to end. It was like the frickin' storm that would never end.
Yeah.
Like I said, at sea, it should blow over in 24 hours. It didn't. Mm-hmm. I mean, even the 5 full days that Steve and Michael were in it, they said they recorded the same wind speed and wave height the entire time.
That's wild.
For 5 days. And we were just in it for 3, just. So when it just wouldn't end. That wouldn't end. Getting through the jetties wouldn't end. Should be a simple thing.
Yeah.
Getting stuck on the sandbar, all through this day, and now the pack of dogs. It's like, holy fart! I'm just trying to get to a bed, and it's like the hotel is moving farther from us. It's like, can we just go to bed already? So we obviously finally get there and struggle through the night to stay on the beds, but get a night's rest, and then it's over.
Yeah.
But it's such I think it has been for the last 23 years such an example of going through a challenge.
Yeah.
And we didn't do everything right. In what challenge do we ever?
None.
Mm-hmm.
Not everything right.
Had I known my authority and known my identity, I think those were the 2 big things, and I didn't at that time. We were just starting to hear that we even had authority or who we were in Christ. We were going to do mission work. We'd been believers for a long time. We'd already been overseas separately, Gina to Thailand, me to Switzerland, and different things, and we'd done mission work. It's not like Christian life was new to us, but we didn't know
the truth and revelation of who you are.
Exactly.
Wasn't there yet.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're going through a challenge and you don't know who you are, and you don't know that you have authority, even at the smallest level, authority over my own emotions and thoughts and well-being, authority over my own peace, being able to maintain my own joy. You know, if we can't be separated from the Spirit of God, it's in us. Jesus said, I and the Father are one. You and me, we're one. So we can't be separated from God. You can't separate one.
Yep.
So understanding that, I think those two elements are the huge. I think that's the primary key for going through any challenge.
How long do you think it would have been if you hadn't gone through that, had that moment of him telling you your course and direction? How long do you think it would have been until you actually ever heard from him?
I don't know, and that's a good point. I mean
so everything goes perfect. You make it down there, you do your normal mission work, and any and every Christian should know that if you live an uneventful life with no struggle, very few people who live an uneventful, struggleless life have deep, through and through encounters with the Father.
Yeah. It's struggle and hardship. A lot of times it doesn't have to be.
No, it doesn't have to be. But I mean,
it's many times
you
what
get
gets
brought
us.
to the point, like you were brought to a point where there was nothing you could do.
Right.
And in that moment, he shows up and it's like, oh, cool.
Yeah.
There's nothing you can do about this, and you know this, and you've accepted this.
Yeah.
Now check this out.
Yeah.
And then he shows up and he points you in the right direction, literally in this instance. You know. And then from that moment, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but from that moment forward, you know, the growth that you've had.
Yeah.
Do you think that would have occurred? I'm not sure it would have occurred eventually, because anyone seeking truth is going to run into it. But, you know, how many years? I just feel like if that wouldn't have happened and everything would have been perfect, it'd have been a lot longer before you ever had that moment.
Right.
That you can now look back to and be like, yeah, that was totally him. And now I hear him all the time.
Exactly.
And I know what it sounds like and what it feels like.
Yep. Exactly. Yeah, any kind of challenge that we face, it's like taking an intensive course. You know, my wife took a intensive Spanish course in college on a summer. So she did, I think it was 2 years of Spanish in 3 months. But it was an intensive. I mean, they were in there, I forget how many hours a day, every day, 5 days a week. And then on their off time, they're watching Spanish soap operas and doing it. It's that intensive.
Yeah, immersion.
Yeah, total immersion, and you can get a lot. And I think that's what challenges are. You get a lot of insight in a short amount of time, and it's painful. But you get it where it would have taken a couple years. Now you get it in one challenge, one struggle. Yeah, and I think like we were talking about with the identity and authority, I think any challenge that we're faced with, if we can come into that challenge, one, with an eternal mindset, like we were talking about at the very beginning, if we have that eternal mindset, then we're taking it as, okay, this is going to get me farther. no matter what happens here, this is going to get me farther. And kind of trying to see beyond it. Because a challenge, like I said, it brings us in close, where that challenge becomes everything that we can see. The closer you get something, it obscures more of your view.
Yep.
You get it out there, now I can still see everything else. So trying to maintain that. But if we'll maintain or keep telling ourselves as many times as it takes, going through the 5 W's, who am I?
Mm-hmm.
I'm a child of God. You can put a lot of things in the who.
Mm-hmm.
Remember who you are. What am I? I am limitless love. I am peace. I am joy. I am kind, especially with relational problems. I am gentle. All of that is in us, all the fruit of the Spirit and all of that, that's the what I am.
Mm-hmm.
When am I? I'm now. There's no reason to get stuck in the past or stuck in the future, but I'm now. I'm right now. The eternal now, timeless. Right now is all that matters. When am I? I'm right here.
Mm-hmm.
Or what did I say? Where am I?
Yeah.
I'm right here. Dealing with this moment. I don't need to project, because a lot of times in a struggle, it's a challenge, primarily because we're projecting forward into the future.
Mm-hmm.
Stay present. Stay in that moment. Stay in the right now. That's when, that's where I am. Why? What we were just talking about. This is an intensive course.
Mm-hmm.
My mission, whatever, it hasn't changed.
Yeah.
I'm here to love. I'm here to complete my mission, whatever that may be. But that's the why. Primarily, it's to love.
And I find it interesting. You never find out the why until after. And usually it could be quite a bit of time after.
Yeah.
A lot of people, if they're going through a hard time, it's like, oh, why am I going through this? Da, da, da. Just shelve that. Shelve that for a little bit, because weeks, months, if not years later, you're going to think, you're going to have that epiphany. You're going to have that moment. It's like, that's what I learned. That's how I grew. That's why, not he did this to me.
Right.
But it happened, and as long as you come out of it with something, that something's going to be worked for good that you can use later in life. And I think that's where, a lot of people get off on the wrong path with, God. He did this. He does these bad things so that you can learn, so you can grow. And I'm like, no, he just works everything to good.
Yeah.
The world, thanks to our being human stupidity and choices, is the way it is.
Yeah.
And there's a natural cause and effect that he built into the universe, and we are dealing with the effect, the consequences of action.
Exactly.
But through said consequence of action, if we're focused on him and our mind stayed on him, he can work everything to good. Why? Because he's good.
Yeah.
He can't do anything else.
He doesn't have to create challenges.
No.
In the world, you will have trouble. That's a promise.
Yeah.
You'll have challenges because I'm going to put other people there. And that's what creates a lot of our challenge. But just in weather and other things, there's challenge. Financial challenge, health challenge.
Well, it's like I told you about
every flavor.
My truck starts overheating out of nowhere, and we're like, what the heck? We have to pull over. A friend and neighbor's coming to pick us up, and then my wife notices paw prints under the hood from a chipmunk. And that little dirt bag chewed through my serpentine belt. And, I don't think that was original intent of the design of chipmunks to chew up your freaking vehicles.
Like it happens. And you deal with it when it happens.
Well, and in that moment of, so many other, not so many, but enough other things that were going on in that time where it's just like, are you kidding me right now?
Right.
You know, and we had
Yeah.
just done the brakes on the vehicle as a preemptive, you know, like we need to do these things and maintenance. We're feeling good about ourselves, like, hey, you know, and then this happens, and it's like, you get that, are you freaking kidding me?
Yeah.
Another thing?
Yep.
Do I, you know, what, you know, and then again, to laugh about it, you know, stupid chipmunk climbing up in there and for whatever reason chewing up my belt. And then the relief of what could have been if it was electrical, thousands of dollars. I'm just like, might as well roll it down the hill and claim it on insurance.
Yeah.
Like, you know.
I don't know how it fell off the hill.
Yeah. To then turning into, oh, it's a $30 fix.
Yeah.
And I can do it myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
it's go ahead.
no, go ahead.
It's a pack of dogs.
Yeah.
It's like, with that eternal mindset, it's like, meh. Okay, so some chipmunks came in and chewed up stuff.
Yeah.
Instead of projecting the absolute worst of, you know, it could have been a dark, snowy night and a blizzard, and I got the whole family in, and we freeze to death because, you know, it's like, we don't need to go there. Stay in the moment, stay present, and just say, oh, yeah, it's a pack of dogs again.
Yep.
It's like, I'm eternal. What does any of this really matter?
Yeah.
And it's not to not have emotions. I mean, we have loss and things like that, but we don't have to be. I think too often we're afraid of those things. I'm afraid of loss for a close loved one.
Yeah.
I'm afraid of loss. But why, really? I mean, okay, it's sadness. What happened to them? They're with the Father. It's good for them.
Yeah.
So all it really is my loss.
Yeah.
And that's legitimate.
Yeah.
And my sadness is deep. But I don't have to be afraid of that sadness.
Yeah.
It's an emotion. It's fine.
Yeah. Experience it.
Just live it out, walk it out. Yeah, I was going to say, it's not going to kill you, but okay, maybe it will. Then
And then you're with the Father.
Who cares? You know, it's like, people will care, but I'm saying we don't have to be afraid of emotions.
Yeah, it's one of those hard conversations that makes you sound like a sociopath. You know, because it's like, yes, it hurts. Yes, I understand it. And eventually I'm going to go through have to go through a loss like that where I'm going to have to deal with it. But ultimately, staying in your sadness is selfishness. Because they're, like you said, they're not experiencing sadness. They're experiencing perfect joy.
Yeah.
And nobody wants their loved ones to stay in sadness.
Right.
So they don't even want you to mourn them that badly.
Right.
It's like,
mourn them.
Mourn them, yeah. Be sad.
Yeah.
Be sad that you lost a loved one who you won't get to see again.
Yeah.
Well, in this state. And then move into the joy of knowing who they are and where they are and what they're experiencing.
Yeah.
You know, and it's obviously easier said than done. But if you have your eternal mindset over than your momentary mindset, that really helps to bring you into truth and then happiness. Because now you're like, oh yeah, they're having the greatest time of their existence right now. Yeah. And that's a good thing, especially if it's somebody that was suffering in any way.
Right.
You know. Right. That's like one of my dogs that was featured in one of the videos when she walked in front of the camera, our boxer. We knew it was getting close to her time. She had her leg amputated years ago, and for a boxer, she had the last 4 or 5 years on 3 legs. She was 11, so she was old for a boxer anyways. But she randomly got this wound on her nub, as we called it, where her leg had been amputated. And it just kind of started to bleed, and we knew it was getting time that we were probably going to have to put her down, so we were planning on having a really great day, feeding her steak, and then having the vet come out and do it on the deck where she liked to lay in the sun. She hated going to the vet after they took her leg. I don't know why.
Who knew? Can't imagine that.
But, and just in a matter of 24 hours, she went from a little wound that was kind of bleeding that she was licking a lot. So we put a bandage and a sock around, I made a little sock sling, to keep her from licking it, to just before bed, man, it was just bleeding.
Wow.
And we're like, oh crap. Okay, we're going to take her to the vet in the morning. And my dad was flying in that next morning to help start this treehouse. Literally, She bled all night long, through her bed, puddled under the bed in the kennel.
Wow.
Was still alive the next morning.
Wow.
And then we had to take her to the vet and have her, put down.
Mm-hmm.
But it was just like that suffering is what we were trying to avoid.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what was frustrating. It's like, dang it, we didn't want to be selfish and keep her as long as possible.
Right.
And have her go through something like that. And then this is just a dog.
Yeah.
And I don't care how, I love dogs. Dogs are great.
Oh, yeah.
But they're just dogs.
Right.
but
it's still another life that we take care of.
Yeah. And so it was just like, dang it, man. Like, this is what we were trying to avoid.
Yeah.
And then it happened. And so it's, don't get stuck in, and it's, again, different between dogs and humans and the loss of a human.
Yeah.
But the same parallel of, I've seen people put thousands of dollars into to keep their dog alive just so that they don't have to experience the pain.
Yeah.
While the dog suffers
Right.
for a year in meds or whatever, not living a good dog life.
Right.
Just so that the owner can avoid feeling bad.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
for us,
That's
we were
big.
just trying to avoid her suffering.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it sucks putting your dog down.
Yeah.
I used to always joke about it. I'll just take you out back and shoot you if you don't knock it off. And then, when you actually get to that point, you realize, oh, this is awful.
Yeah. This is.
And then, we.
I'm not really going to do that.
No, I
It's
mean,
like,
I was bawling while we buried her. You know.
Yeah.
And the vet was super. Oh, are you sure you don't want her cremated? It's like, well, no, I have land. I'm going to bury her on my land.
Yeah.
It's like, no, I don't want to give you another $200 to give me a card and a paw print in concrete,
Right.
which is a cool thing. That I get it. It's neat.
Yeah.
But we built her a little memorial, and
Depends on where you are. In a condo, it's a little hard to.
yeah. But
Yeah.
said all that to say, more often than not, it's our own selfishness that keeps us in heartache, because we're thinking of ourselves in that moment.
Yeah.
Instead of thinking of the other
Yeah.
person and where they are now.
Yeah.
Having that eternal mindset.
Right.
Yeah.
And trying to, again, avoid that emotion.
Instead of just
And
having it.
yeah. I mean, I know in a lot of the circles that I've been in, emotions are looked down on and something to be avoided and all of that. So that's kind of a recent thing for me the last couple of years of, oh, it's okay. It's going to be painful,
Yeah.
but that's all right. And it was weird. When I was going through a very hard time just a couple years ago, and I started looking, I needed peace really bad. And what came to mind was, there's some people out there that do meditation, and that looks really peaceful. I need that. So I started seeking that out, found Thich Nhat Hanh, and a Buddhist monk. And, he's written things like we've talked about before, living Christ, living Buddha, and stuff like that. And he recognizes Jesus in a big way. Anyway, so he was there when I was looking for peace.
Yeah.
When I was looking for a practical, how do I do this?
Yeah.
I get it from Scripture, meditating on the Word and whatnot, but they had the practice down. So that's what I was seeking. Anyway, all that to say, this last January, he passed away. And there were like 3 or 4 times that day, I'd just have to leave and go to the bathroom and bawl. And in the middle of it, I'm thinking, what the heck? I don't even know this dude. He's like 97-year-old Buddhist monk.
Yeah.
But during that time, I read like 7 or 8 of his books, and it brought peace.
Yeah.
And he taught me how to meditate. It was like, so
He taught you a practical exercise that brought you into a deeper relationship with the Father.
Exactly.
Even though he had nothing, well, I wouldn't say nothing to do.
Yeah. It's just, I don't know, again, it's, don't be afraid of the emotions. Just walk through them. Especially loss, grief. We're really afraid of that one, I think, as a society. And other societies, I think, have done it better, but we've got
They
so
celebrate it more.
Yeah.
in our society, we do this sad funeral.
Like you said, all about us.
Yeah, it's a sad funeral where people, if depending on, the funeral, talk about how they miss this person, and it's just like this sad thing.
Right.
In most cultures, it's a celebration because they have a better not a better understanding, but a better belief of where that person's going.
Yeah.
So they're celebrating the release of that spirit into whatever they believe is the next life.
Right.
Whereas we, again, are more self-centered, and we're Americans, so that just goes without saying. But
Modern Western society.
and we've turned it into not only a market where, you have funeral homes where they're selling you $4,000 boxes that you're going to put your loved one in the ground to rot in.
Right.
I'm sorry. I'm not trying to offend anyone. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Cremate me if it's cheaper, or, put a rock out somewhere where you can come visit me if that's your thing. Like I always told my wife, if my boys want me in a spot to visit me where I won't be, because that's just my body
Just
bag.
flesh.
It's in
body
the dirt
bag.
now. My meat suit that I shed.
Yeah.
Talk to the military, have them do a military burial, put me in a plot somewhere nearby if that's what they want.
Right.
If nobody,
I'm not going to care at
I'm
that
dead.
point. Yeah.
Or my body's, I shed
The
my meat
body's
suit.
dead. Yeah.
I'm somewhere completely different. If that's what the family wants to do, that's fine.
Yeah.
Otherwise, cremate me, and spread me somewhere cool.
Yeah.
Because I ain't there no more anyways. Like,
make sure it's downwind. Don't get me in
think
your
about
face.
this. For real though, think about how here's an eternal mindset on this. It's like you taking your clothes off and leaving the house, and then everybody mourning over your clothes, and then
Picture.
and then wanting to do something special with them.
Yeah. Put them behind a glass case. And
Yeah.
this is what he used to wear.
Yeah. Like that's.
If they're going, man, that's weird.
Yeah.
You guys are weird.
Or even, putting a tomb with you in it, your clothes in it, and then coming and visiting your clothes and talking to your clothes. Like that's, in the eternal mindset, that's what we do as people.
Yeah.
At least in Western.
Right. Yeah. It is odd. But
It's because it's focused on the person who has the loss, not the person that has been lost, if you will.
Yeah. And just go, want to encourage everybody, just remember the 5 W's. Remember who you are, what you are, when you are, where you are, and why you are.
Yeah.
When you're going through a challenge. And don't be afraid of the emotion. Just live it. Walk through the grief, the loss, the whatever negative emotion it is. It's fine. You keep that eternal mindset of what we truly are.
Yeah.
And be present with it. Yeah.
Well,
So hopefully that encourages some people.
if nothing else, it's a great story.
Yeah, it's good times. And here I am in a landlocked state in the mountains, and I love it.
I like that though. Turning the 5 W's inward. Might have to get that tattooed on my arm so I can remember it.
Yeah, sometimes we need it. Yeah.
A little quick reminder card I can just whip out with the answers.
Well, is it somebody has said that? I'll think about it once the camera stops. But tattoo eternity on my eyes.
That would hurt.
It would hurt. Yes.
And I don't think I could read it.
No, man, I should have put that in reverse so I could read it. But always having that eternal mindset helps. Just that one simple thing helps.
Yeah.
A ton. Don't get so caught up in the present, because as far as in your problem.
Yeah.
Because then, man, if it's right here, I can't see anything.
Yep.
Eternal perspective.
Eternal perspective.
Yep.
All right.
Sweet.